Hey everybody, welcome to the final QuickPoints podcast. I'm Pat O'Rourke. I'm the sports editor of the BU News Service. Alongside me, once again, is Alex Hirsch, and we're going to talk about the Red Sox today. Obviously, the Red Sox have had a very, very active week since we did our last podcast. Actually, right after our podcast last week. True to form. As we mentioned during 4 and Out last week, if you guys watched 4 and Out, the latest episode of that, the Red Sox decided to make a move. It didn't decide to announce
Let us know before.
Yeah. So
and it seems that what is that? 3 times that after our podcast or our 4 and Out episode, the Red Sox have made a move right afterwards. Yep. It was David Price, Craig Kimbrell, and David Ortiz announcing his retirement as well after the next year. So, but the Sox did make another move last night.
Yep.
Traded Wade Miley, which I love.
I wish we did the podcast last night just to just so we could just continue that trend.
Just to continue the trend.
It would be so fitting. But
so we traded Wade Miley, starting pitcher, to Seattle Mariners. Got ourselves Carson Smith and Roenis Elias, starting pitcher, young starting pitcher. What do you think?
Well, Carson Smith's the big piece in this.
Yes, he is. He's young as well, only 27.
Yep, big strong power pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Righty too is one of the best pitchers, one of the best relievers, against righties last season, and that's big in this division because how there's so much right-handed power between Josh Donaldson. I think it was.
Well, Edwin
Pete Abe
mentioned,
Pete Abe mentioned A-Rod, which I'd kind of. I don't know if he's going to repeat that again. But
Dombrowski, though, mentioned at the winter meetings during his interview, Dombrowski mentioned the Toronto Blue Jays specifically because you got Encarnacion, Donaldson, and Batista all back to back.
The Jays are the big one.
Yeah, the Jays are the big one.
You got Longoria down in Tampa as well. So.
And Smith has got 92 strikeouts in 70 innings. Mm-hmm. Not to mention he's also got 13 saves last year. He has a low whip.
Yeah.
And the thing that Farrell loves about him is the way he throws, too. Not only is he a power pitcher, which is unique to this team, Koji, Tozawa, and who else do we got in our bullpen?
We got Kimbrell.
Oh, Kimbrell.
Yeah.
Sorry. But Carson Smith's the unique one of those guys because of the way he pitches. Power pitcher, pitches in the lower third as well. His arm slot is in the lower third. So it's just a different style of pitching that we now have on this team. And it allows, one thing that Farrell was saying that he loves, it allows for them to have inning specialists now. And you can say, all right, Koji, you are slotted the 8th inning. You can mentally prepare for the 8th inning for every game that we need you in. Kimbrell, you mentally prepare to be our closer 9th inning. Carson Smith, you can be the 6th inning. Tozawa, 7th inning, or vice versa. 7th inning for Smith, 6th inning for Tozawa, or probably, depending on matchup-wise. But it allows them to mentally prepare for opponents and for the game. They don't have to have long outings by any of their relievers. None of their relievers need to go multiple innings now. Mm-hmm. You've got 4 great arms in there, as well as you've got potentially Joe Kelly in the bullpen, or potentially a long reliever in Joe Kelly, Elias, Stephen Wright.
Yep.
As well as it allows Tommy Lane to just pitch against lefties, and which he's actually pretty good against. You can actually have a lefty specialist now.
And then Elias could be a lefty specialist if Lane, who I'm not 100% sold on still, but Elias could be that.
Elias could be that
lefty specialist.
It allows Robbie Ross to just come in and do a couple innings here and there. We're not relying on these unproven arms, and it allows people to be slotted in almost like a rotation, just like in the starting pitcher, and it creates amazing depth for this team. And like you said, the power arm is just something we really don't have on this team.
Well, yeah, they never had the power arms. Mm-hmm. That was really the big issue that needed to be addressed. They needed more of that power in the bullpen.
Even in the World Series years, really did. Yeah. Besides Papelbon as the closer, but to get to Papelbon, there's no power arm.
Bard was a power arm.
I forgot about Bard.
Well, I guess it wasn't really World Series years, but
2 years,
they had some guys
ago
who
when
could
we
throw.
won the World Series, no power arms there.
Tim was a big power guy. And,
2 years ago under Farrell.
Okay. Yeah.
No power arms. We've not had the power arms really.
Yeah.
Farrell, it's new for Farrell. And it should be interesting. So Carson Smith really is the big guy, and great. He's only 26 years old. I mean, this is phenomenal, and he's got, not that we need it, but he has closer potential as well. Obviously, Kimbrell is the closer, but the last couple big closers that we've required, they all seem to get hurt and don't end up pitching for us in terms of You had what's his name, Andrew Bailey came in and then got hurt, and then they got Hanrahan as well. He came in and got hurt.
So in defense of those guys, they were never really clean bills of health when they came in anyway.
Kimball's a clean bill of health, but if something goes down for him, we've got three potential closers on this team as well, in Tozawa, Koji, and Kimbrel that can take over the mantle at least, and still allows us to have a pretty deep.
Having Kimbrel in there changes everything. I mean,
having Kimbrel changes
everything. I think
everything.
the big issue with that bullpen last year, particularly towards the end of the season, was that you didn't have that guy there in the ninth. When you had that anchor there in the ninth inning, look at the Yankees bullpen when the years they had, all those years they had Mariano Rivera. Look at the years and here when they had Folky down there in the ninth inning, or
Papelbon,
all those years. So having that guy in the ninth inning is huge.
Right,
but that's what they did not have after Koji got hurt. And that's when I thought the bullpen really took a nosedive after that point.
Well, the big thing is though, it's the depth. That's the biggest part, the depth now. Because if someone does get hurt, like Kimbrel, if Kimbrel for some reason gets hurt, which it can happen, or if Koji gets hurt, they've still got the depth to be a legitimate bullpen because they've got 4 very good bullpen players, and if one goes down, you got 3. If 2 goes down, you still got 2 at least to get you in the 8th and the 9th. I mean, the depth of this team is phenomenal, and Dombrowski it was a great move. Wade Miley really, he was. Who knows what his place on this team was going to be? So get rid of him.
His place on the team,
a manageable contract, and he wasn't necessary for this team to go on with. So
his place in the team was that he had an extremely tradable contract, probably as tradable a contract as you're going to see in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What is he? $6-7 million for a guy who eats innings, is a good back end of the rotation piece. I think he's very, very valuable. I think he had a 26 start stretch last year where he was his 162 game average. So over the course of 35 starts, which he makes every year, he'd throw about 220 innings, and I think his ERA was around 3.9, which is very, very good. That's a good third or fourth piece. It's not going to carry rotation, but that's a very, very good piece, and that's what Wade Miley is. And I think he's a good fit in that Seattle rotation. That's kind of what they need. They got Felix, they got Iwakuma, they got T1 Walker, if he can get it together, put together a full season next year. That's going to be a very good rotation. Miley's going to be the 4th or 5th piece in that rotation, and that's going to be a very, very strong rotation for Seattle.
Good riddance of Wade Miley. He was the definition of mediocrity. Didn't want him here on this team.
I would have taken him here, but
I wouldn't take him here. I don't want him here. You look at any of our World Series teams. He really wouldn't have been on any of those rotations.
He may have been a fourth or 5th piece.
No, he is by definition mediocrity.
If he had a good year, a good year,
there's so much more potential on our team. He does not need to be on it. I don't want Wade Miley on this team taking innings away from young potential players like Henry Owens or Eddie Rodriguez or even Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly's still a young.
Yeah, but you're talking about guys that haven't thrown major league innings.
They all have thrown major league innings.
Before last year, no.
But they have this year. No. But they did last year, so that's the point now. So the point is they should be in the,
as rookies. They threw great major league innings in their first year in the major leagues.
And I'd rather have them playing than Wade Miley. Rather have them playing than Wade Miley, and that clearly Dombrowski does too.
Like I said, let's see how Henry Owens performs now. See how Erod performs now, and all these young guys perform now when the book comes out on them. And teams have a full off season to see what they're about, see what their tendencies are, and see when they perform then. And then let's see.
This team's not going to miss Wade Miley. This team.
Oh, they're not going to miss Wade Miley. But I'm saying he would have been. I think he would have been a good piece on this team at the same time. Or at least could have been. If he had a good year, he'd be. If he had a good Wade Miley year. In a good Wade Miley year, which he's capable of doing. I mean, he was very good in Arizona pitching a bandbox, and he was giving 200 innings, giving him pretty solid production for the most part. And
he's the definition of mediocrity. There's other pitchers out there that we could get that are better than him.
Well, what do they had in their rotation over the last few years?
Who? The Red Sox?
Yeah. Is there after Price? I mean, do they have a great rotation right now?
I'd rather have Buchholz, Porcello, Kelly, Eddie Rodriguez, Henry Owens, Stephen Wright. I'd rather have all of them. There's still work to do with this team, I think. A lot of people are saying that the Red Sox have made great moves over the offseason, which they have. They've made some really, really good moves. They're pointing upwards. Their arrow's pointing upwards right now. They're definitely closing in on contender status, but I don't think they're there yet. I think they're still a piece or two away. What do you think those pieces are?
I don't know. I think they're right up there with the division right now.
Okay, but what are
Right,
those
but-
pieces that the team needs now?
If they could use a piece, the one thing I think of, we're going to play that game. What are the Red Sox going to do after we end the show? I'd say starting pitcher.
Yeah,
And
number 2.
upgrade that number 2 spot.
Yeah,
But like I said, I think they could get away with having the rotation as it is right now with David Price at the top and the guys behind him.
What's the point in getting away with it?
You look at the
point?
effect that he had in Toronto's staff last year when he came. I mean, I think Toronto's staff is was similar to what it was before Price came. So,
yeah, but what is the point in just getting away with it when you can upgrade it?
oh, if they can upgrade, they should upgrade.
So
But I'm saying
let's upgrade.
it's
How
not
do we
the most-
upgrade this? What do we do?
Yeah, the person I really like is Tyson Ross.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a big righty. He's seems like a good fit, and the guy that there might be trying to get rid of or trying to get something for in San Diego. I think he's a good fit. He might be a good fit here. He's had some pretty good seasons out there in San Diego the last couple of seasons. 10 wins last year, 13 wins, but the year before that had a 2.81. Pitching in 2014 was an all-star, albeit on pitching in a bigger ballpark. But I think he's a guy that you can get some. You can get some. Get for a couple prospects, and I think he's better than anything they got in the free agent market right now.
Yeah, but don't you think that the Red Sox would have already probably tried to entice him with the Kimbrel trade? I mean, that was the talk at the trade deadline as well when we were trying to get Kimbrel possibly. It was Kimbrel and Ross. People were looking at Kimbrel and Ross possibly. So I like Tyson Ross. I think he's a very good pitcher. I think he'd be very good here. But I can't see them going back to the Padres and trying to get another player out of them when I would imagine they probably would have put.
You never know.
Like,
There's some Red Sox connections in that organization, and if they're willing to make a deal, they made a deal already. If they're willing to make another deal, might as well. It doesn't hurt to make the call.
If you can't get a guy like Sonny Gray or Shelby Miller or Tyson Ross, I think the free agent market is the way to go. Anyways, and there's a lot of 30, 31-year-old pitchers that were dominant at one point in their career that you could give a modest contract to probably. Prove it contract. Prove it that you can get back this dominance. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, they can get by on the rotation that the Red Sox already have. But if it does work out, Red Sox may have themselves a new number 2 or number 3. These names, the ones that I'm looking at are Doug Fister, not necessarily number 2, but maybe a number 3. You got Gallardo, Giovanni Gallardo, also a decent player, only 29 years old. Mm-hmm. The one I really like, the 2 or 3 I really like are Josh Johnson from the Padres, free agent, Scott Kazmir from the Astros, free agent, as well as Tim Lincecum. These are all pitchers that maybe Kazmir would probably get a little bit more money since he actually had a pretty good year last year. But Josh Johnson and Lincecum, those are pitchers that you could probably get for modest money right now that have the stuff to be a number 2, even a number 1 on some teams. Lincecum clearly has the stuff to be a number 1. If he could ever get back on track, which I'm not saying he's going to be back on track to become the freak again, but maybe he can get back on track to be a legitimate number 2 or number 3 pitcher. That'd be great. And if he doesn't, well, you're right. We can get by on this team, and then maybe make if we need to, make a trade during the regular season. But I really like those guys. I think there's other ones too, Mike Pelfrey as well.
The name I think of is Sean Markham, another guy who was experienced pitching in the AL East, came up with Toronto. He hasn't really had a good year since. I think his last good year was really good full season was 2011. He had a 3.54 through 200 innings for Milwaukee, but I don't think he's probably not. If you're talking about a 2 or 3, it's a stretch. But you look at contracts like they gave to Bartolo Colon in 2008, they gave to John Smoltz in 2009. It's one of those low risk, high reward deals where if this works out, he's gonna be a good pitcher for us. He's gonna be a very good asset for our rotation.
The other guy that I think you can get for like a John Lackey money is Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee, solid pitcher in his career, has been very good throughout his career, and I wouldn't mind seeing Cliff Lee in here, bringing in another lefty, kind of replaces Miley, and Cliff Lee would be a good decent addition to this team that could potentially be a number 2 or number 3. And, you wouldn't have to give up that much money for him. Yeah. And he's got much experience. So I think a starting pitcher is a way to go. I wouldn't also mind still seeing a first baseman on this team to at least compete. It does sound like Hanley is going to be the first baseman that we have next year because it doesn't sound like anyone's willing to trade for him. But if you can somehow trade for him, there's one name I like out there. He's older, but I wouldn't mind Justin Morneau on this team. Chris Davis is still a free agent
Yeah, I
option
think
as well.
Morneau's probably past his prime now. I don't know
He
if
is.
he's.
He's 100% past his prime, but
he's probably done.
You could sign him on this team and keep
Yeah,
what
if
you've
you're-
got.
if you're
You've got
talking low risk,
Hanley.
high reward, yeah.
You've got Hanley, and you can keep Travis Shaw and add Justin Morneau to that team. It's like, hey, let's see who shines through. And pit all three of them against each other. If you sign like someone like Chris Davis on this team, you have to somehow get rid of Hanley Ramirez or get rid of Travis Shaw. You can't have all three.
Yeah.
Justin Morneau, you could probably add with the other two on the team.
I'm not on the Chris Davis bandwagon.
I'm not either. I don't like him.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like him. I just don't think he's a good fit for Fenway.
I'd rather have Hanley Ramirez hitting here right now than Chris Davis, and I'd rather have Travis Shaw hitting here. I'm familiar with him.
I think Shaw's. If there's a guy I want starting at first base right now, I want it to be Travis Shaw at this point.
Sure.
I'd rather definitely more than Hanley.
Well,
He's certainly earned that starting spot a lot more than Hanley has.
Absolutely. Hanley's only starting because the money is tied to him.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens with Hanley. If Hanley can actually play defense, I have no problem with Hanley being in the lineup. But I think a first base and a starting pitcher really are all that's left, though. I think it's not, when I say all that's left, this is what makes them over the top. This is what makes them the best team in baseball. And right now they're a contender in baseball.
Right now they're a playoff division. They'll go division contender.
Yeah.
Because Toronto lost Price. That's a huge loss for them.
Yeah.
So they're a contender for the division right now. If they had a really good two, they're a World Series contender. Right now they're a division contender. Right now they're Toronto. They're at Toronto's level last year, where they can win the AL East. Maybe make a run because there's not a whole lot else that's any good in the American League. But if they had that second piece, and we're talking, I don't want to say pre-2011, but pre-2011 when they were, this team could win the World Series. If everything goes right, this team will win the World Series. Mm-hmm. That's what this team would be if they had number two.
You know what the best part about all these moves that this team has made this season is they haven't lost anyone except for Wade Miley.
That's the biggest
best
thing.
part.
That's
and
the biggest
Dombrowski was saying there's going to be a move. I mean, before we made any of the moves, he was quoted saying he's going to make a hard move. There's going to be a move in which fans are going to be like, oh, it sounded like either Mookie was going to get moved possibly or Blake Swihart. It's going to be a hard move to make. He didn't. He didn't make a move. And that's the best part. So we still have the future of this team is still very much intact, and he's completely added to the future of this team by bringing in someone like Kimbrel and Craig Smith as well. So Dombrowski has done a phenomenal job because we have the future of this team is so bright right now. We haven't lost even our top two prospects as well.
I think
you still got Moncada. You still got Benintendi as well, and you still got whoever who's the other top prospect that we've got?
Devers. But
yes.
when Dombrowski said that, I thought that I never thought for a second that it was going to be Mookie or Xander. I thought Mookie, Xander, and Eddie Rodriguez were all off the table. It was understood with trade partners was if you said if you're coming in and saying we want Mookie Betts, you're going to lose us. And when he said it was going to hurt, it was going to be Blake Swihart. It was going to be Manuel Margot. It was going to be Andrew Benintendi. It was going to be
kept them all. That's the point.
Moncada.
That's the point. Is he's kept all of those guys. He has not made a hard move really.
Margot could be.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah.
I'm so sick of people saying we gave up too much for Craig Kimbrel.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
I know you're
don't,
not.
yeah.
I know you're not. But the people that say that, they're like, we gave up part of our future. Craig Kimbrel is part of our future. We have the game's best closer under wraps for multiple years. He's only 27 in one of the best baseball markets there is. You think we're going to let him get away after he's a free agent? Most likely not. Craig Kimbrel's here to stay. He is 100% part of our future and hopefully our closer for the next 5, 6, 7 years. He is part of our future. So the fact that people are thinking, we got rid of Manuel Margot. Well, you know what, guys? We've got lots of other prospects that are still here, and we added more to our future.
What people like that aren't realizing is that you got to give up something good to get something good.
And we got something that is proven to be the best in the game, whereas we gave up a prospect. For all we know, that prospect could have ended up being a dud. We don't know. I mean, he might be good, he might not be. But we got a proven young closer that is the best in the game. Phenomenal trading on him by Dombrowski. He's done a phenomenal job bringing this team out of the cellar right now.
So far.
And so far, we're hoping, yeah.
If David Price can't play in Boston, then that's gonna look pretty badly on his part.
I don't see why he can't, though.
Yeah.
There's no reason why David Price shouldn't be able to pitch here. Again, I think I said on the 4 and Out, I read somewhere that he has the best ERA in a minimum of I think it was 15 starts or something like that in Fenway Park since Babe Ruth.
So again, that's in a. He's made a lot less starts here than Clay Buchholz has, or Kurt Schilling, or other guys.
I mean,
it's
not like we're talking 5 starts. We're talking at least a minimum of 15 starts. David Price has been phenomenal in Fenway Park, and there's no reason for me to think that he was phenomenal in Toronto. He was phenomenal in Detroit. He was phenomenal in Tampa. They've maintained the future and gotten tremendously better by adding veteran talent as well, and that was my number one hope going into this offseason. You added a 4th outfielder without getting rid of the 3 outfielders that you've got that have made for very good 2 months. Whether, if one of them fails, you've got the 4th outfielder, potentially 5th outfielder, and Brock Holt as well if need be. But you're now letting Brock Holt, though, man the infield as well and rotate around in there. This is a very deep, very good team now. And, barring injuries, barring, a terrible year from David Ortiz, which at some point he might drop off. It's possible. I mean, he hasn't shown signs of it yet, but it's certainly possible.
Well, he's got 1 year left to drop off. So.
Yeah, he's got 1 year left. So, barring that, hopefully maybe a resurgence from one of either Hanley Ramirez or Pablo Sandoval. You can hope for one of them at least to at least do somewhat better at the bat.
I mean, they can't be much worse. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. This should be a very good team. So, I guess that's it, though, for Quick Points Podcast. This will be the last time that Pat and I will be bringing you the Quick Points Podcast. It's been a real pleasure. And make sure you tune in on Friday for our last 4 and Out. But other than that,
that's it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Signing off.
Yeah.